I just made a video talking about the worst pitching appearance in Major League history, which arguably just occurred courtesy of this outing registered by Ryan Pressly, who managed to give up 9 runs, with 8 of them being earned, without recording even a single out versus the Giants in extra innings. But his prior 9 appearances before this had been really good, giving up exactly 0 runs in that time frame. It's actually hard to find guys who've managed to struggle on the level of a Pressly the other night for multiple games in a row, for obvious reasons, as it takes a combination of bad execution and pure dumb luck that just doesn't come around all that often. With this being said, this is actually exactly what's going on right now in a stretch of pitching from lefty Reid Detmers of the Angels. That is verifiably the worst in the history of Major League Baseball, period. I promise I'll back that up with numbers, but first, let's break down his appearances. His first would come when he faced off versus the Mariners in a tied game in the 7th inning, immediately giving up a softly hit ground ball in the infield that would end up going for a knock. A tough way to begin, but arguably not as tough as the next one, when Samad Taylor laid down an excellent bunt, only to see nobody covering first base, easily reaching on what probably should have been a sacrifice. 2 batters, 2 unlucky base runners. But things would quickly get even worse when the next batter, J.P. Crawford, would softly ground this one into left field at just 68 miles an hour off the bat. Given that both base runners had already moved up earlier in his AB, this brought in 2 runs on the 3rd straight hit that was under 85 miles an hour. The same, however, could not be said for the next one, which would come off the bat of Julio Rodriguez, when he crushed this ball at 108 miles per hour to center field, hitting it off the center of the fence out there to drive in Crawford, hustling around from first base to score. Detmers was right back to having bad luck versus the next hitter, Cal Raleigh, who would ground this ball to third base, on what should have been a routine play if not for Julio already taking off on a steal attempt, creating an odd-looking diving dodge by the runner before he would get up and then easily score. This was the end of his outing, but not the inning, as Raleigh would later be brought around on another tough-luck infield hit from Leo Rivas, giving Detmers his 5th earned run of the contest without recording even a single out. His next appearance would come versus the Tigers. In the 8th inning of the game, the Angels were actually leading by 2 runs, when he began his night by walking Riley Green, putting 2 guys on for Andy Ibanez, who would then line a fastball right down the center of the plate to center field, where Joe Adell would bobble the ball, not only allowing Colt Keith to easily score, but Green to move to third, and Ibanez to second. Now with the tying run just 90 feet from home plate, Detmers would manage to induce the first out of the inning on a ground ball to third baseman Kevin Newman, who looked the runner back to the bag and then flipped to first. Could things finally be turning around? Well, not exactly, as the next hitter, Zach McKinstry, would single up the middle, tying the game. It's at this point you would assume he'd get yanked, right? But for some reason he was left out there, only to give up an absolute no-doubt moonshot to left field on a hanging slider right down the center of the plate. The numbers for this outing? A third of an inning with 4 earned runs allowed. This brings us to our final and most recent appearance he made, which came 6 days after his outing versus the Motor City Kitties, in another high leverage spot versus the Blue Jays. Ernie Clement would lead off the frame with a 107 mile per hour line drive into the left field corner, just 3 pitches in, immediately putting a guy in scoring position. Detmers would then field a bunt off the bat of Andres Jimenez, who was just trying to get the runner to third, but courtesy of a momentary double clutch, he wouldn't even be able to get Jimenez at first base. Yet another situation with 2 guys on and nobody out. This brings us to the last hitter Detmers would face, being Myles Straw, who grounded this 0-2 pitch right up the middle, scoring the go-ahead run and keeping guys on first and second with nobody out. Following his departure, Bo Bichette would later line a single off Ryan Zefferjohn, scoring 2 more runs that were both charged to Reid. Once the inning finally ended later on with George Springer taking a called strike 3, it was official. Reid had thrown another 0 innings pitched while giving up another 3 earned runs. This meant that over his last 1/3 innings pitched in 3 games, he had given up 12 earned runs, which comes out to an ERA of 324. You heard me right, 324. Now, as I alluded to in the open, this is a record-setting run of bad pitching, as never before in the history of Major League Baseball, and I mean history, going back to the 1800s, has a guy managed to give up as many as 12 runs in as little as 1/3 of an inning pitched, over a span of 3 games, with the next closest being Justin Grimm and Elmer Riddle, who both managed to give up 12 runs of their own, only in 2/3 of an inning. This meant they had ERAs that were half of what Detmers had posted, at a modest 162. This, to me, certifies this 3-game run of pitching as the worst in the history of Major League Baseball, bar none, which is certainly surprising given the fact that this guy literally threw a no-hitter just 3 years ago, as a former first-round pick and top starting pitching prospect. Now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Also, if you ever see something you'd like to see detailed in the Made the Cut video, whether that be a specific play or a narrative surrounding a certain player or team, feel free to reach out to my email, basebpoet@gmail.com. That's B-A-S-E, letter B, P-O-E-T @gmail.com. If I use your idea, I'll be sure to give you credit. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.